Hey, what is up, YouTube? Kolst here, and I'm here with Twitch chat as well. Say hello to Twitch chat. Twitch can say hello to YouTube. YouTube can say hello to Twitch in the comment section as well. And we are doing the full Wrath of the Lich King new expansion card review. We're going to start out with all the neutrals here. I believe that'll just be this whole video here. This is going straight up on YouTube, so hopefully I can speak relatively well for once. But anyway. We're just going to go right down the list, and it looks like these are in some different order actually. We're gonna let me try to see if I can actually sort these by can I sort these? I don't know. This website's a little weird sometimes. You know, the way we can do it actually, let's just sort to neutrals, and then because I thought these were already in ascending mana cost, but they're not. Okay, so we'll go by ascending mana cost. So let's get right into it. So the first one we have here is Arms Dealer. This is a 1 mana 1/2 undead, and there's significant value to having undeads, especially in Death Knight, the new class. But in general, it's a nice to have tag, and it's after you summon an undead, give it +1 attack. I don't know how relevant that is. I mean, this would be, I guess, pretty nice in like Death Knight, because then that makes your hero power deal 2 damage, for example, right? A persistent effect as well. But overall, I mean, that doesn't seem like, normally it's probably not a great effect, and you're paying a 1 mana 1/2, which is not really good enough. And again, there is some undead synergy, so it's not terrible, but it's usually going to be pretty underwhelming, so not something you'd be super excited to pick. Next up, we have Foul Egg. This is a 1 mana 0/2 undead. Death Rattle. Summon a 3/3 undead chicken. So basically, this is like a smaller Nerubian egg. Very stat efficient. You only have to spend 1 mana, and then you get a slightly weaker pop of a Nerubian egg. And this thing is an undead, and also pops out a undead as well. And that would work, for example, very well with the Arms Dealer, so the Arms Dealer would just activate this immediately. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, these egg cards, you do need to have some kind of activation. They're usually, you can't really pick them when you don't activate them, but if you do have activation, it's okay. You can pick them as AoE insurance, right? But then, you know, it's just a little weird. Usually don't want to take them for just that reason. The next one we have here is Banshee. This is a 1 mana 2/1 undead with Death Rattle. Give a random friendly undead +2/+1. So why all of the 3 1-drops in this set in neutral? There's an egg, an undead egg, and 2 cards that actually synergize with the undead egg. Rather interesting. But yeah, I mean, a 1 mana 2/1. I mean, the issue is that if you play it on turn 1, you're not going to have any other undeads, and if your opponent pings it off immediately, it doesn't do anything, right? So that's a little bit weird, but if you can actually get the trigger off this, it's very good, right? Very good. But on curve, that's just not going to be a very reliable thing. But especially if you're against like a non-ping class, then, you know, if you're going first, you play this, you have a 2-drop undead, it will always work then. So then that makes it pretty strong. So it's going to, you know, obviously depend a bit on how much undead synergy you think you're going to have, but not really a card you want if you don't expect to have a whole bunch of synergy for it. With that, let's move on to the 2-drop, and man, there's a lot of 2-drop undeads since we're looking at that. The first one we have here is Bone Flare. This is a 2 mana 2/3 undead battle cry. If a friendly undead died after your last turn, deal 2 damage. So that means if your opponent killed it, if you had an undead on the board, like a 1-drop for example, if your opponent killed it during their turn, then this will already be active, and if you have an undead on your board, and you trade this off during your own turn, then this thing will be active and you can use it as well. But even if you can't activate it at all, it's a 2 mana 2/3, right? So that makes it, you know, already pickable. And obviously much, much better the more undeads you expect to have. So, pretty good card. With that, move on to Brickwool Necrolite. 2 mana 2/2 undead. Battle Cry. Give a friendly minion Death Rattle. Summon a 2/2 zombie with Rush. So, I mean, if you can activate this on turn 1, on turn 2, it's amazing. Even if you can't, you're getting 4/4 in stats for 2 mana, right? You just need to have another minion to activate it. You can just play it on turn 4 or whatever with your 3-drop that's stuck or whatever. It could be a little bit delayed because it's a death rattle in that case. If you played a sticky main to get something to actually stick, then maybe it doesn't trade off immediately, so you're not always getting the rush instantly. But, you know, you're getting enough stats for this that it's pretty good. It's just not really a 2-drop, right? But overall, pretty nice card. Now move on to Incorporeal Corporal. 2 mana, 5/5. After this minion attacks, destroy it. And it is an undead. So you could silence this, potentially. But as well, I mean, it's pretty good, right? Because, I mean, you can imagine if it was just like... Imagine it was... You can kind of imagine that this is like a 1 health, cannot be targeted stealth. Or just a stealth, I guess. Cannot be targeted, doesn't add anything at that point. You can imagine it's like a 2 mana... It's a 2 mana 1 health stealth, but it's also immune to like AoE. It doesn't die to like just a cheap AoE. So it seems pretty good, right? You just imagine it's like a low health poison that can't die. And also, because kind of like a patient assassin, right? And you can also just deal 5 face damage if you want to, right? But you probably wouldn't want to. So it's the downside is that you just can't deal repetitive face damage with it, but you know, you just use this to kill one big minion. You pick your shot with it, right? You don't just trade the first time you have an opportunity. You wait until they play a 3 or 4 drop that you actually want to kill. So it should be pretty good, I think. You just don't throw it away for no reason. Next one we have is Umbral Geist. 2 mana 3/1 undead. Death Rattle, add a random shadow spell to your hand. So, I guess I'm not going to go through. We are speedrunning this, by the way, I should mention for the YouTube video, so we're just going very quickly how the card works, what we think about it. I'm not going to look through it exactly what all the shadow spells are, but there's a lot of the new Death Knight cards, for example, are shadow spells. There's some pretty good shadow spells in there, I think. There are probably some pretty weak ones too. So it could be hit or miss, I think, but yeah, 2 mana 3/1 get a spell though is pretty good. Typically, the Star Scryer did the same thing. That one drew from your deck though, right? But this just gives you a random spell. Random spells are usually it's a bit weaker than like a card that you actually drafted, so it's probably not amazing, but yeah, it should be a pretty good card. And it's an undead for undead synergy as well. That we move on to Coroner. Coroner is a 2 mana 2/2. Valcry, freeze an enemy minion. Mana Thirst 6. Silence it first. This is the first Mana Thirst card, so we should mention what Mana Thirst means. Mana Thirst basically means that if you have this total number of mana crystals, which I believe means you can't just coin into it, that doesn't work. But if it's turn 6, basically if it's turn 6, then in this case, then you get a bonus effect. And a lot of these Mana Thirst cards are really good. This is probably one of the weaker ones actually, but you know, 2 mana 2/2 freeze is fine. It's probably not. I mean, it's probably about as good as like Glacial Shard, right? But Glacial Shard's a pretty good card. And also the bonus is that later on it also silences. So your opponent plays a big Death Rattle minion or whatever, then you also get the silence. And you do not have to pay any extra mana or anything. You just need to have the mana crystals. So yeah, it does not turn this into a 6 mana card or anything. So yeah, like a lot of times you would want to freeze Death Rattles anyway, just to delay them, right? So then getting that bonus of silencing them also is just pretty nice. So it's a nice tech card, right? It's just probably not super high priority because it's not a curve minion. and it's a little conditional, but you know, it's not like freeze is always useful, right? It's just not exactly. There's better things you could be doing, right? So it's a good card, but not great. Let's move on to Alistar Bloodsworn. 2 mana 2/2 battle cry. Add Alistar as a protector to your hand. Mana first 4, deal 2 damage. So I'll just explain kind of what this card is, because there are 3 different modes for this card, because this card gives you the second version, which gives you the third version. This is the first version, which lets you, it's a 2/2, but on turn 4 it activates to deal 2 damage. The second one is a 5 mana 5/5, which on turn 7 activates to gain 5 armor. And then the third one is an 8 mana 8/8, which deals 8 to all enemies, or split between enemies randomly. And then on turn 10 it deals another 8. So what you can do with this card, you know, you can play them. You don't really want to tempo, especially the first one. You probably don't want to tempo on turn 2, but it's not the worst thing if you do. But what you can actually do, since Mana Thirst is an instant effect that you'll be able to gain, what you would be able to do is just play both Mode 1 and Mode 2. Since they're battle cries, you get the next one immediately. You can play them both on turn 7, and they'll both be active. So you get a 2/2, deal 2 damage, and a 5/5, gain 5 armor, all on turn 7. And then you'll have this, and then you can, you know, choose whether you want to play it immediately on turn 8 or wait until turn 10, right? It's just, basically, this is just an absurd amount of value. It gives you some cheap removal and armor to help you get to the later game, and then you get this super big win condition. It's a lot of decently efficient stuff that just does things, and it's just an absurdly high amount of value. So it's a very, very good card. Yeah, it's like literally if Pyros was actually good. That's what this is. But yeah, it's a very good card. Then we will move on to Infected Peasant. This is a 2 mana 2/1 Death Rattle. Summon a 2/2 undead peasant. So this just seems like too many stats, right? That's just a lot of stats. Like WTF. Just more stats than you're supposed to get. In theory, right? Like if they have like the exact answer, it's only a 2/3, right? But it's very awkward to force your opponent to have to like, you don't want to deal with a 2/3 by pinging it and then dealing 2, right? Like that's not how you want to just deal 3 damage. So it's a lot better than a 2/3 automatically, right? So this is just a very, very good curve 2-drop. One of the best ever, probably, right? It's just very good. I mean, the cards, maybe the cards that are like multiple bodies and more stats are better. But other than that, like, you know, like Maze Guide. This might not be as strong as like Maze Guide, for example, but there's no RNG on this one. It's just a lot of stats. It's very good. So with that, we move on to the 3 mana cards. First one here is Nerubian Vizier. So 3 mana 2/4 undead battle cry. Discover a spell. A friendly undead died after your last turn. Costs 2 less. So it's just already, it's discover a spell. 3 mana 2/4 discover a spell. That's just good. You know, 3 mana 2/4 discover a spell not in your deck is a very good card, right? The Pandarin Importer. So this is, I mean, it's similar, right? But then if a friendly undead died after your last turn, costs 2 less. Yeah, they're very wordy with that condition, the if an undead died, that one. But yeah, I mean, then it's effectively a 1 mana 2/4, right? So that's just insane. Obviously, discovering spells is better in some classes than others, right? So that's a thing. But, you know, yeah, getting very discounted spells also has benefits if you're playing a class that actually has really good, really big spells. So you might be able to play Puzzle Box on turn 8 or Rune of the Archmage on turn 7, right? Like that's a thing now because of this. Although there were other ways you could cheat out those spells already too. But yeah, so I mean, this is just an absurdly strong card. What else to say? Let's move on. So next one is Drakari Embalmer. 3 mana 3/4 undead battle cry. Give a friendly undead reborn. So this will be better in some classes, like it'll be better in Death Knight than the other classes, just because of how easy it is for them to get undeads. But in general, there's going to be a lot of undeads. There's a lot of neutral undeads we've already seen in this set, and like Knights of the Frozen Throne is going to bring back some too. So this is not a terribly difficult condition to trigger, but it's definitely not guaranteed. And sometimes you'll just play this as a 3-mana 3/4 and that's totally fine, but sometimes you'll also get reborn on something, and some undeads have death rattle, and then getting reborn on death rattles is also really good. So yeah, it's just a good card. So that we will move on. So Brittleskin Zombie is the next one. 3-mana 4/3 undead, death rattle. If it's your opponent's turn, deal 3 damage to them. So this is one of those interesting cards where, you know, it's an aggressive statted minion, so your opponent's kind of going to want to deal with it. But then if they do deal with it, they take 3 damage. So ideally they would force you to trade it yourself, but you can just go face, right? It's an interesting, very aggressive minded minion. So it seems very so for that purpose it's pretty good, right? I mean, it's a 3-mana 4/3, which is, they tend to feel a little bit weak just because there's so many like 3 damage removals at this point, you know, that those tend to feel a little bit sketchy. But it's still a totally playable curve minion, right? Like you won't mind it at all. So it's pretty good. And then a more aggressive deck, pretty nice. Move on to Hawkstrider Rancher. This is a 3-mana 2/5 epic minion. After you play a minion, give it +1/+1 and death rattle. Summon a 1/1 Hawkstrider. So I forgot this card. I saw this card and then it went into that part of my memory where, you know, I put things that I don't want to remember, and then I just had to read this again. It's a little unreasonable because like 5 damage is really hard to deal with, right, on turn 3. So you just play this and then it's just like, okay, you hit one thing with this. You can also just combo this with other things, right? Like you have to play it, it's not summon at least, but like, yeah, anything if you just play this, your opponent probably can't kill it, and then you just get like a lot of value really fast. Not like super fast because it's only play, but yeah, I mean, you'll win the game if this thing just stays there, right? Like you get 2/2 per minion played. It's pretty good, yeah. If only Deathborn was in to limit this stuff. But yeah. And anyway, yeah, it's just, I mean, it's already a fair statted minion, right? And then you're just getting like a lot of benefit. It's just very, very strong. At least it's an epic. Yeah, the epic bug will be in, probably. Who knows? But that will move on to Bloodied Knight. It's a 3-mana 4/5. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to your hero. So at least compared to like that 3-mana 4/5 in Warlock, at least you don't have to like worry about whether or not you attack to take the damage. This way you're just always taking the damage, so it's fine. But yeah, so that's not a lot of, obviously you could take a lot of damage from this if it sticks around for a long time, but if it sticks around for a long time, and that means you're pushing face with this, and then your opponent's taking more damage than you are, right? So it should be fine a lot of the time. Obviously you can't play this defensively later on if you're losing very well, but I mean, you might still have to actually, because you might need to be able to deal 4 damage to something. But yeah, that could get really weird. But most of the time, I mean, as far as being a curb play, this card's just very, very good, right? Because you'll be willing to take the damage generally to get this overstat of a minion. So it's very good. But there are better cards like the one we just reviewed before. Let's move on to Amber Whelp. This is like why somewhere Scale Rider is just crying. Someone needs to call Scale Rider, because this is just disgusting power creep. And some people say there isn't power creep in Hearthstone. It's the funny thing. They're like, oh no, they're just printing different things. Yeah, okay. Amber Whelp, 3 mana 3/3, dragon, battle cry. If you're holding a dragon, deal 3 damage. The reason we're talking about, if you don't know, Scale Rider is a 3 mana 3/3, which is not a dragon. If you're holding a dragon, deal 2 damage. That card was printed 3 years ago, and now they're power creeping it by a damage and also giving it a dragon tag when it's a dragon synergy card. That's pretty direct, pretty nuts power creep. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's like, it's not good if you don't have dragons, but if you have dragons, it's very good. Yeah, so I mean, that is what it is. Goes face as well. Next up, we have Crystal Broker. This is a 3 mana 3/2 minion. This is another mana thirst minion. So on turn 5, this activates that you get a random 3-cost minion. And then on turn 10, this activates that you, instead of a 3-cost minion, you get an 8-cost minion. So 3 mana 3/2, not very good. 3 mana on turn 5 though, 3 mana 3/2 and get a random 3-cost. That's going to be, obviously that's, at that point you're getting a lot of stats, but you're waiting until off curve, but you're getting enough stats that that's, you know, pretty good, especially if you can get this right around turn 5, then it's good. But then at turn 10, you're getting a random 8-drop, and then you don't even care that much about the 3/2, right? You're just getting an 8-drop for 3 mana, so that's pretty nice, but you could low roll it, and also, turn 10 is a lot to wait for that. That's a very long time. But yeah, it is kind of just like a better Dinner Performer, and Dinner Performer is a decent card. So yeah, it's a little bit weird, but you really want to just play this probably on turn 5 a lot of the time, because turn 10 just seems like a little bit too long to wait. But sometimes if you think you can, then sure, go ahead and wait. It's just really, it's going to be really hard to pass playing it on turn 5 and wait 5 turns to wait for that, right? It's just a long time to wait. And there's probably going to be a lot of people making the mistake of holding it when they should just play it on turn 5. To hold it, you would need to have a lot of other value that you could just, you'd have to have just other options, right? And then you could, but yeah. Overall, so it's just a pretty good card. But that's when a lot of time you're just going to play on turn 5. Moving on to Silvermoon Arcanist. This is a 3 mana 2/2 with spell damage +2, battle cry. Your spells can't target heroes this turn. So obviously the idea is, I mean, if you could somehow stick this on the board, but you shouldn't really be able to, right? Then you can actually still go face with the spells, but obviously the idea is that you can't use this to kill your opponent with the spells. You just have to use AoEs ideally or whatever, right? And I mean, normally it used to be a 4 mana 2/2 spell damage +2 was a thing. Now it's been crept to being a 3-drop, but it has this weird condition. So overall, still, I mean, it'll depend on what class you are or how your deck is, but most decks it's not really worth taking something like this probably. But if you have multiple AoEs, then of course you'll want this, right? And yeah, that's also true in Constructed. You can actually cheat it out, but yeah, not a thing in Arena. Next up we have Enchanter. So this is a 3 mana 3/3 epic minion. Enemy minions take double damage during your turn. So I've seen a lot of discussion about this card. I'm pretty sure pretty much everyone's conclusion about this card is that it's completely insane. You can just imagine that this is like a Dark Iron Dwarf when you play it, right? At the worst case. Because, I mean, if you have a 2 mana 2/3, your opponent plays a 3 mana 3/4, you play this, and then your guy kills their guy. The 2/3. It just literally works like a Dark Iron Dwarf. But also, this just says enemy minions take double damage during your turn. This is not only like minion trades. This also means spells. So this also works like this gives your spells double damage. Like it works on everything. So yeah, I mean, no matter what, if you're a minion based deck, you want this. If you're a spell based deck, you want this. Like, this is good in every deck. This is like one of the best situational, it's quote unquote situational, it's like one of the best situational cards they probably ever made, right? It's just yeah, that's true also. Yeah, it can actually it even trades. It's a 6 damage trade as well. Yeah, it's nuts. It's very good. Pick it every time. That we move on to Scourge Rager. 3 mana 5/4 undead. Reborn. Battlecry. Die. Tragic. So obviously the idea is you have to cheat this out of your hand somehow, otherwise it's not very good. At least if you're like Death Knight, you get an extra corpse compared to just a Magma Rager, right? But yeah, otherwise, I mean, you're not going to have the synergy for this very often, so you probably do not want to pick it. Let's move on to Silvermoon Sentinel. This is a 3 mana 2/5 taunt with Mana Thirst 8, gain +2/+2, and Divine Shield. So 3 mana 2/5 taunt is already pretty good, right? I mean, it's okay at least. And Mana Thirst 8, gain +2/+2 and Divine Shield. A 3 mana 4/7 Divine Shield taunt is completely insane, right? I mean, that's better than Sunwalker, right? Sunwalker is like a serviceable 6-drop, okay? So that's like literally you're getting like a 7-drop, a good 7-drop for 3 mana on turn 8. So you can imagine. I mean, this is one you might have to play it on turn 3, but like you would want to hold this if you can, because just playing that on turn 8 is just really good. Imagine you have 2 of these. That's gonna be a thing. People are just gonna play 2 of these on turn 8, and you're just gonna be really sad. It's a common too, so like it's really gonna be a thing. Yeah, so it's just very, very good. Let's move on to Sunfury Clergy. This is a 3 mana 2/4 battle cry. Restore 3 health to all friendly characters. Mana Thirst 6, restore 6 health instead. So, I mean, the thing is like this is a Mana Thirst, but I mean, especially if you play this as on turn 3, like healing 3 is totally good enough for anything you would need, right? I guess it's possible you could have taken 10 damage by that point, but like, yeah, it's kind of irrelevant at that point. You're pretty much getting the full effect anyway. It would only be like around turn 5 where it might actually make a difference, but yeah. Overall, I mean, it's a pretty good card. It's not, like what was the other thing? There was the other minion that's like a 3 mana 3/3 that healed all your guys for 2. This is kind of a 3/3 is probably better than a 2/4, but otherwise, I mean, this is still arguably a better version of that card. Yeah, you can get at least you get a lot of health on your hero, right? If nothing else, but huge potential to heal up a bunch of damage minions and then win the game off of tempo as well. So it's a pretty good card. It's just a little bit conditional, so it's not always going to be like crazy game winning, but sometimes it will be. And that is it for the 3 mana cards. So now we move on to the 4 mana neutral cards. So the first one here is Plague Spreader, this kind of a troll card. 4 mana 4/4 undead. Death Rattle. Transform a random minion in your opponent's hand into a Plague Spreader. So I saw a lot of discussion about this card as well. Yeah, so it's a little weird. There's obviously potential that you just eat your opponent's Ysera, right? But they can also then play, even if you do, they can play this and then eat your Ysera, theoretically. It's arguable about like if this is like better or worse for good players, because like some people overdraft slow things, but then so you might hit value with this more likely, but then that also might be a good thing for them to actually force them to have a playable thing, and then you might lose a minion yourself. Eventually someone's going to run out of minions and then this will stop, right? So it's interesting. The weird thing about it is that, your opponent could keep like a 1. If you do want to like play this for value, then your opponent might have a 1-drop and then you're actually giving them value, and then it transforms your guy. It can backfire pretty hard. And the thing is that at the end of it, it's not clearly that great of a card as a result of that, because it'll bite you back, even though temporarily might be good, but also you're playing a 4-mana 4/4, so you're detempoing, so it's probably not super worth it. But it could have its moments, but probably not super great card to pick, I don't think. Moving on to Silvermoon Armorer. This is a 4-mana 4/4 rush with Mana Thirst 7, gain +2/+2. So a 4/4 rush is okay, right? It's nice to have rush. Sometimes sometimes you just need rush, so then you're pretty happy to take this efficient of a rush minion. But also you can just wait. You only have to wait 3 turns, and that's a 6/6. And a 4-mana 6/6 rush is, I mean, not the craziest thing ever, but it's obviously way more than you're supposed to get, right? So it's pretty good. So, you know, just it's just a good minion. Nice rush minion for all the classes, since we're talking about neutrals. So yeah, good card. With that, we will move on to Sanctum Spellbender. This is a 4-mana 3/6 epic. Whenever your opponent targets another minion with a spell, redirect it to this. So wait, whenever your opponent targets another minion, okay, so like, yeah, it's actually a spellbender. That's interesting, right? It's hard to like set this up, you would think, but what we would realistically do, I mean, you could play a big minion, and then the thing is that you can't play this on the same turn, so it would already have eaten the spell, so then this doesn't do anything. What you have to do is just play this on turn 4, and then, you know, have it stick around, and then a threat you play afterwards would be protected by this. That's what you would actually want. So, I mean, it seems like a lot of time that's just not really gonna work, you know, for all those reasons. But having said that, a 4-mana 3/6 is totally serviceable as is. And yeah, you might get some value, so. And yeah, that's true as well. Like if you're against Paladin, that you just deny all buff spells instantly. So that actually might be the most useful thing about it, is that you just are allowed to go face against Paladin now because of this thing. Except their dudes can still get transformed, but can still get buffed by Warhorse Trainer, but yeah. So it's I think you're still probably not getting a ton of value on average out of the effect, but you know, it's a 4-mana 3/6 is totally fine. It's worth something, so it's a good card. And it'll have its moments where it'll be insane, but just won't happen that often. Moving on to Street Sweeper. This is a 4-mana 2/2 common card. Battle Cry. Deal 2 damage to all other minions. So it's like a Volcanic Potion, 2-sided, 2 damage AoE, but 1 mana more expensive, and gives you a 2/2 body, which is something. Not much, but it's something, right? That's like, it's an efficient enough card that people are going to take a lot of it, right? So you'll see a lot of it. Just this thing being a thing is going to make 3/2s a lot worse. 2-mana 3/2s, for example, I think. And you're gonna, especially with all the Death Knights, you know, some of them have a lot of spread. You're probably just gonna want this, right? So you're gonna just see a lot of these everywhere. So that'd be a thing. All right. Let's move on to the 5-mana cards. So the first one we have here is Tenacious San'layn. This is a 5-mana 4/6 lifesteal undead minion. Whenever this attacks, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. Damn, it's pretty good. I mean, on board, the issue is that, I mean, on board it's an understated minion technically, but a 4/6 is not that understated for 5. It kind of is at this point, but you know, you get a lot out of this, because unless they remove it with spells, you're getting healing from this. And whenever this attacks, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero, which has a lifesteal. So every time this attacks, you actually gain 6 health. That's just you're healing so much from this so quickly. It's just kind of crazy. But yeah, it's still an understand minion, but if you want, you know, it's funny though, because like I guess even in an aggressive deck you would want this, because it is 6 damage phase. And you obviously want this if you want healing, because it's a lifesteal and it's one of the more efficient lifesteal minions they've ever made. So it should be good in basically every deck. It's just a pretty solid mid-game minion. It's just, again, not purely tempo, but it's good. It should be good in basically every deck. So, nice to have. Move on to the next one. Infectious Ghoul, 5 mana, 5/4 undead. Death Rattle. Give a random friendly minion Death Rattle. Summon an Infectious Ghoul. You know that Greybow legendary, that Druid card? Let's just give it to every class. Okay. And make it better, actually. Because it doesn't have taunt, and the taunt was awkward sometimes. Yeah, I mean, so it has the potential of being completely infinite, right? I guess it's like, it was weird because sometimes you didn't want Greybow to have taunt, sometimes you did. So sometimes it's better and sometimes it's worse. And technically, I mean, a 5/4 is worse than a 4/6, probably most of the time. But if it's a 5/4 that never dies, then, you know, you're getting more damage, so that's useful as well. So yeah, it has a condition. You need to be able to not get AoE'd, and you need to have other minions on board, so you can't just be completely off board and play this and have it do anything. But it's a lot of potential, right? So it should be, especially if you're playing a more aggressive tempo strategy, you will want this. And if you are not, you will not want your opponents to play this. So that is basically that. We move on to Translocation Instructor. This is a 5 mana 4/4 battle cry. Choose an enemy minion. Swap it with a random one in their deck. Yeah, so I saw a lot of discussion about this card. It's a little bit of a weird one. Obviously, you know, you only would do this. You would only play this if your opponent plays a giant minion. And then at that point, it's not like it's gonna, if you're actually hitting this on something you want to remove, it probably can't get that much worse, right? Surely. Famous last words. But I mean, seriously, it shouldn't get that much worse at that point. So it would have the downside that it's kind of like an Entomb type thing, but it doesn't always work. It just doesn't always work, but it would usually work. Sometimes something just as big will come back out too. But it shouldn't happen that often. But, you know, most of the time, you are getting kind of like an effective silence removal mostly out of this, and it's a 5 mana 4/4, so it really doesn't, like, if you just hit like an ogre with this, you know, even if it pulls out a 4/4 from your opponent's deck, like, it's basically, that's effectively as good as an assassinate, right? Because you're killing a 6/7, but you're both getting a 4/4, so it's like an assassinate. So even in that case, it's like fine, right? So it seems like on average, this should be pretty good, actually, at least decent. But you know, you can always get completely screwed. You can pull out your opponent's giant legendary that you didn't know they had, right? But it's a little annoying, because I think like you're gonna have to take this sometimes, because it's just usually good enough, but then sometimes you'll get screwed. You know, it is what it is. With that, we move on to 6 mana cards. This one is Shatterskin Gargoyle, a 6 mana 4/6 taunt undead, death rattle, 4 damage to a random enemy. So that's a little, this seems a little bit sketchy, right? Because like a 6 mana 4/6 taunt is not good enough. It's not that bad, but it's a little weak. But yeah, it can go face is the thing, which the issue with it is that if it hits the wrong target, it's a little bad compared to some of the other things. You know, if you can get like multiple 2 damage things, then it's a little bit better, right? Because you can't get completely, you're less likely to get completely screwed. But the thing is like, yeah, like 4 damage going right into a Divine Shield, right into face when you don't want it to, is kind of a problem. So then it's a bit inefficient, but sometimes it'll be great, right? Overall, I mean, it's probably about average, I guess. Like, seems like just a little bit not quite good enough for you to actually want it. Like, there's just better late game cards. But yeah, it's not terrible. Like, you're gonna have to take it sometimes. I just think there's probably better things you can get, ideally, right? Talking about better things, here we have Bonelord Frost Whisper here. Being a little sarcastic, but this is a 6-mana 6/6 undead death rattle. For the rest of your game, your first card each turn costs 0, but you die in 3 turns. So that's a little it's like that can work theoretically, right? But the thing about like arena decks, I mean, unless you're already winning by tempo, in which case this card could be actually pretty good, but unless you're already winning, arena decks do not end games very efficiently or very well, very quickly, right? So, and you don't tend you aren't always going to have a whole bunch of a bunch of giant cards to really cheat out anyway. So then it's just going to be very hard. Like, you can't just reverse. This isn't probably going to be enough where, like, if you're losing, you're not going to be able to reverse the game and kill your opponent in 3 turns. You just won't be able to, right? God forbid they have freeze or something, right? To just actually make it impossible. So, like, this just isn't going to work unless you're already winning. If you're already winning, it might work, but then you also might need card draw to actually give yourself fuel and stuff. But yeah, like, this is going to be a thing people evolve into sometimes. It's actually going to be funny. Yeah, it's just like, you know, yeah, we're spending too much time. Like, it's, you're not going to want this, is the short answer of it. So we'll move on. So the next one we have, Orthamar Theron. This is a 7-mana 7/7 Battle Cry. Double the stats of all minions in your deck. Unfortunately. Well, probably fortunately, because if it did, it would be completely absurdly OP. But, does not affect your hand, so you have to play this, and then only, you know, cards you draw from that point are actually buffed. But then, you know, Ball's Life, Accomplishments, making a 2/2 Tiny Finest. True. But yeah, I mean, it's an absurd amount of inevitability, right? So, I mean, if you're in one of these stalled out games and you play this, you just win. If you play this on turn 7 as well, you can start to get just good tempo out of it, right? It's like it kind of seems like just a much better version of Survival of the Fittest, right? Because Survival of the Fittest was really hard to pull off because you had to wait till turn 10 and you had to have minions on board or else you would lose on tempo. But this is a 7-mana 7/7, which is not great, but not that bad, right? So that's basically what it is. It's like a way better Survival of the Fittest. And then, yeah, pretty good card. You'll be pretty happy to take it, I think. It's like, there are better legendaries, but that card's solid. Next up, we have the only 8-mana card, Invincible. This is a 8-mana 5/5 undead beast with Reborn, Battlecry, and Death Rattle. Give a random friendly undead +5/+5 and taunt. So the issue with that is that, I mean, it being 8 mana means you can't really combo it, right? So you can't exactly guarantee. If your opponent's keeping you off board, you're not going to be able to combo this with other things unless you have like a 0 or 1 drop, or you can Hero Powers Death Knight or whatever to guarantee a trigger for this. And if this thing doesn't trigger, it's pretty weak. But if it does trigger, it's going to win you the game automatically, probably. Yeah, the fact that it has Reborn means, well, the thing is that it's an 8-mana 5/5 Reborn. Like, if you just play it, your opponent's going to probably be able to clear it off completely, right? So that really isn't going to make it better. But yeah, I mean, if you have an undead on board, you hit the Battle Cry, then this thing, like, you potentially get 15/15 in buffs, right? Because it's Reborn, Battlecry, and Death Rattle. You potentially get, this is potentially an 8-mana 20/20. It's just a little bit tricky, right? But you really just need to be on board with Reborn, with undead minions. So it's hard. It's really hard for me to think like how good this card is, because it's like there's so little in between, right? It's either the best card ever or it sucks, and there's so little in between. So how good is this on average? I don't really know. It depends on how many undeads you have, right? You probably start this thing around like a 3 out of 10, and then every undead you draft probably makes it gain like 2 points, right? Or makes it gain a point maybe. So then it'll eventually be like completely insane, but it just completely depends on how many undeads you can get. So yeah, that's that one. Now we move on to 9 drops. First one, Flesh Behemoth, a 9-mana 4/8 undead taunt minion. Death Rattle, draw another undead and summon a copy of it. So there are some very good big undead minions. There are also some very big, or there are also some very good small undead minions that you might not want to actually draw off of this, but you might have in your deck. So that could be a little bit weird. Trying to not draft like small undeads to actually guarantee this triggers on a big undead probably is going to be a bit difficult to do. But at the end of it, it's like this is a 9-mana 4/8, which is, I mean, a 4/8 taunt is like a 6-drop, right? Would be kind of fair as a 6-drop. So you don't need, it's just a little weird because you have to wait until turn 9 to play this, but technically speaking, you only need like a 3 or 4 drop to make this a good tempo card, right? You would want more though. But yeah, but it's a lot of, you know, things that are taunt and value like this. It's just good if you want to play longer games, right? So it seems like a decent card, but you know, it's just a little bit conservatively statted and stuff for it to be like crazy good. Yeah, it's a good point that it can draw itself. So if you have multiple of them, then that makes it a thing. But yeah, that would be the goal. You draft 6 of them and just don't draw anything else, and then you die on turn 8 naturally. The last one we have here is the Sunwell. This is a card that's already in Hearthstone right now. If you're playing standard, 9-mana holy spell. Fill your hand with random spells, but it costs 1 less for each other card in your hand. So if you wanted to, like, you could play this on, if you managed to like top deck this with an empty hand, you could get 10 spells for 9 mana, and then maybe spend a 1 mana spell the same turn. Or if you have like a couple spells, I mean, the way this card functions, it functions in a couple ways, right? Either you are going to get like 8 spells maybe, but it's going to cost you almost your whole turn. But then you have infinite value, and hopefully you have spells to stay alive that can correct you wasting a turn. Or if you can actually manage to fill up your hand, which is not easy to do, then you can just use this to very cheaply just get like maybe like 3 spells or something, right? But that's hard to do. So in Arena, mostly this is just going to be a very greedy way to just generate a whole bunch of random spells, which would win you a value game, but you know, you have to not die, which is, you know, not the easiest thing necessarily if you're wasting a turn. So it's a little bit sketchy, I think, because in the mid game it's just, again, unless you can increase your hand size, you're just not going to be able to play this in the mid game really ever. So then it's just a little bit weird. So it is a very good value win condition, but it's just weird. Yeah, it's a good point that since it's a neutral spell, any spell discover can discover this. That's the thing to think about, actually. So that's probably going to be the way you see this for the most part, actually, because there's a 3-drop that discovers spells in neutral as well. So yeah, like that's probably gonna be the way you see this, is people generating it. That's gonna be annoying, actually. More reason to try to kill your opponents quickly. Okay, and there are no 10 mana cards, so that is actually it for the neutral cards of the new set March of the Lich King. Hope you guys enjoyed here on Twitch. Hope everyone enjoyed on YouTube as well. Thanks a lot for hanging out, everyone, and we will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.